Hey everyone, Mr. Devil here, Kenny Danico, 3-time Stanley Cup champion of the New Jersey Devils, and you're listening to the Uncle Pucker's New Jersey Devils podcast. Let's go Devils!
You guys ever had mushroom coffee? No?
Don't think so, no.
You see they always have commercials for it and stuff on YouTube and stuff. So we started ordering it. I really enjoy it.
Did you get your high?
It. No, it's not that kind of mushroom, unfortunately.
Tim, you got a farm. Are you growing mushrooms out there?
Not the kind that we want. And ever since I spent 7 hours under my friend's bed in college, I haven't been kind of shied away from mushrooms.
You really got so freaked out you just hid under your friend's bed?
Yeah, because it wasn't kicking in, and just like I kept eating more and more, and then just like that.
Yeah,
and
rookie
I was
mistake.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Nope, I'm hardly a rookie there, young man.
Well, you were back then, apparently.
I've done things, Chris.
I like shrooms.
You ever robbed a gas station for crack?
No, never done that. Not for crack. I'm not a big crack guy. So we are the Uncle Puckers. Bobby will be joining us right now. You got Tim, Tone, and I'm Chris, and we are going to talk a little. We got a snake draft of the week we're going to do, which is kind of cool, but we're going to talk. Tim wrote up a really nice, awesome article about UFAs, RFAs, trade options, and stuff like that. So what I think we're going to do on this show is kind of, Tim, walk us through everything that you wrote, and we're going to kind of comment on it, and we'll go from there. Just because there was maybe one or two guys on your list that I actually really liked. So I'm curious what everyone else thinks. But before we start, I'm going to give a little shout out here because it looks like DraftKings finally got the new read correct. Now that we're down to, basically one playoff series left. The fastest game on ice just hit another gear. Welcome to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Welcome to the finals, because that's where we are, where legends are made and every shift could turn the tide. And now the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can take every slap shot, breakaway, and overtime thriller to the next level. New to betting on the Stanley Cup playoffs? You're in for an exciting time. Getting started is a breeze. Fire up the DraftKings Sportsbook app, pick your team to win, lock in the wager, and you're off to the races. It's fast, simple, and puts you right in the middle of the action. Here's the kicker. New customers who bet just $5 will score $300 in bonus bets if their wager hits. That's right. Turn $5 into a playoff payout. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN. That's promo code THPN to unlock $300 in bonus bets when your $5 bet wins, only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, visit dkng.co/audio. That is DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Okay. Now that's out of the way.
Covered a lot in 3 minutes and 46 seconds. Mushrooms, gambling.
Yes.
We haven't even got to the melons yet.
Well, yeah, I don't think we're allowed to talk about the melons.
Well, we can talk about them now before Mr. Wet Blanket shows up.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm not throwing
Mr.
anybody
Melons,
under
Mr.
the bus
Melons
here.
over here is itching.
I'm waiting for the movies, man. Everything.
You want to tell everybody what happened? You can go throw Bobby under the bus. Go ahead.
We had this idea. Even my wife gave me the thumbs up on it. I was like, what about those old?
Let's
80s
start it
movies?
off that it was your turn to pick the subject for the snake draft. So let's start. This is what he's talking about. It was the subject of this week's snake draft,
which was the most underrated bands, which to me was a pretty damn hard one. That was a tough pick actually. So I figured, we can go with music, but we went with music. I think the last 3 out of 4 times or whatever we've done. So I was like, 80s movies, they always had that scene, right? The frontal scene. You always had that, and that was a
boob shot.
Yeah, the boob shot, And as a teenage boy, as we all were at one time, most of us, it's like,
Yes, we were.
we all had those ones we remembered, and that's what the snake draft was going to be tonight. The 3 most memorable ones, and it didn't have to be from any kind of particular movie. But I think with this revised snake draft that we're going to do tonight, this can also play into that. So,
There you go.
To start, we decided against doing the boobs because, just if we didn't want to make anybody that's listening uncomfortable or think that we're just a bunch of like 50-year-old perverts talking about
Tim get too excited.
Yeah, and Tim whacked
the side of the glass.
he's like, fast times, BB Kates. I mean, I think everybody had BB Kates, right?
Youngblood.
I told you my first was European Vacation.
All right, so the scene in European Vacation, we don't even know the girl, right? So they're in Germany. She's dressed up like St. Pauli girl, and she shows Rusty her boobs.
I mean, that was. I remember when they would play that on Showtime or HBO.
Anyway,
they would play it on Showtime or HBO, and if I knew it was on, sometimes I even had the timing down. I was okay about like hour 10 in, the German dance scene. That was my favorite time. And you mentioned another one, Chris, early. Trading Places.
Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah. Now it had to be 80s, right?
Yeah, 80s, because that's pretty much our window, right? Where there was some 70s that's not.
That was when that was still rated PG.
Yeah.
I mean, when they can show you a flash of boobs and it would only be PG-13.
But Chris, your wife had a great pick, if I can say. I was surprising one that I didn't even think of.
She had Glenn Close for Fatal Attraction. She gave me that one. Yeah. I was like, ooh, that's a good one.
I didn't have enough time to do proper research on this one.
Well, we're not doing it, so it doesn't matter.
What was one of yours, Tim?
Being a hockey podcast, and one of my first and most formative movies that I watched was Youngblood.
Yeah, so Rob Lowe for you?
Yeah, that scene in the hall where he's walking around in the job.
I have not
but
seen
tonight instead we're going to do top Bible verses. So
Austin 3:16.
I was like, oh, I was like 12 was the best. All right, so
you were going to do the girl from Youngblood, right? I forget her name.
Cynthia Gibbs, I think her name is.
Cynthia Gibbs. Okay. No one had Slapshot, huh?
I didn't.
Do you know who she is? That actress, right?
I don't.
She's the
from
mom
Slapshot?
From Slapshot. She's the mom from A Christmas Story.
Really?
No, it's not Beverly D'Angelo.
No, not Christmas.
Christmas Story. Is it really?
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Hanrahan's wife.
Yeah, that was really.
Yeah.
You know what I remember about those boobs?
What's that?
I don't even want to...
All right,
I'm not even gonna go there.
Wait, how does Revenge of the Nerds not get mentioned? I mean, I know it's a little bit of a scene that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, we can't do Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah,
I'm
not down with that movie at all.
That's just way too fucking rapey and disgusting. And the gratuitous boob scene is one thing. All right, quiet, Bob's coming.
And on the 5th day, Jesus Christ said to us all,
it's still making fun.
Hold on. I think we were on the 6th commandment, right?
Oh, wait. Oh, you pissed him off. He's gone.
I thought you put him in timeout to finish the combo.
Put him in timeout.
Put him in the bathroom. All right. You guys watch last night's game? I was so disappointed.
I watched the highlights of it, actually, this morning.
I wanted Florida to win this thing and actually get me 2 fucking points for once with the sweep. And instead, no, Carolina had decided they wanted to play at least one a game.
So Florida's missing 3 main guys. I'm like Nico Mikkola from Florida. Like, when did he decide to be good? Like, he was fucking a bag of trash with New York. And I think it's just kind of the way somehow Florida has some magic. I don't know who their defensive coach is, but where they picked up Forsling off of waivers, and then they picked up like Mikkola for like a bag of peanuts, and like some of these guys are awesome. It's like what the fuck is going on down there? But Mikkola was out, Reinhardt was out, and there was an AJ Greer was out. So they basically were like resting guys.
I mean, you could say the same for like Kovacevic. His where the hell?
Yeah, that's fair, and that's what I think. Fitz and his team do have a good eye. Dumoulin, for picking up guys off the scrap heap or finding hidden gems, and look, what I wrote, I got way too carried away writing this. But
You were very thorough. I wouldn't say
yeah,
carried away. I'd say thorough.
it started, I was going to start writing about UFAs, and I was like, probably should throw in some RFAs. And I was like, well, they're trade guys too, because it's kind of like a sort of big puzzle that Fitz has to work out. And I think, looking at the holes in our lineup and where we need to upgrade and what we need to fill, obviously the guys that we're not re-signing. Hang on. Yeah, there's Bob.
Wait. Is he better?
No.
No.
Yeah,
We can't
Bob,
hear you.
you're on mute.
You're muted. All right. Yeah, he's muted.
You're
No.
muted,
Do
Bob.
it again. Unmute.
How about now? Here we go.
There
We
you
got
go.
you,
There
buddy.
it is.
Now we hear you.
Ever since the new StreamYard thing, every time I log in, all my settings are gone. I put the microphone on, and it still's coming out of my computer.
Bastards.
Bastards, I tell you. I can't do this anymore, so here's my notice. See ya.
All right. Well, Tim's going to finish his thought, and then we got to hear about the Metallica show. So go ahead,
Yes.
Tim.
All right, so we have some holes to fill, primarily up front, right? And where, in the first sort of domino fell today, where Tatar is going to sign in Switzerland,
Woohoo!
that was not really that huge of a secret. Lazar, God, they better not re-sign him, or Bastion. So those three guys are gone. They're off the books. I think our fourth line is going to be some sort of Cotter, Glass, Nason. Like, I think that's probably fourth line. And then you have Nico and Timo up top, Brat and Jack, and then something going on with the third line. Gritzik will pencil them in there, and then maybe one, maybe two spots. So really the way I'm kind of looking at it is there are three sort of spots that we have to fill. So I started going through all the big UFAs. Sam Bennett is sort of the big topic of conversation. Then Ehlers, Marchand, Giroux, Duchesne, Granlund, you guys can go ahead and read the list I put together, but it's more or less, and the reason why I had all three of these groupings all in one is because it is sort of a giant puzzle that Fitz has put together. Like, we're not going to be able to sign a bunch of UFAs to fill these holes. We're not going to be able to offer sheet RFAs to fill these holes. Offer sheets, with RFAs, you can trade for rights. That's something that could be done. Or we can look for just hockey trades, or, like good players now for futures. So those are kind of the three things that Fitz, tools in his toolbox to play around with stuff to fill those holes. So I think, it's first line wing, second line wing, third line center. I think those are kind of the three biggest priorities. And there are, and it's not unique thinking, but there are 4 or 5 guys that could get shipped out. And, the obvious candidates are Dougie, Palat, Holla. If they're not going to use McDermott, he makes only $1 million, but I don't think a 3-year contract for him was worth it, but that can be buried in the AHL. And Mercer are kind of the 5 guys that will make enough money that I think can be moved out. So if we're moving, money has to go out for any of these guys to come in. So how that I think the holes are obvious, and what Fitz needs to upgrade is obvious, and what can go is obvious. Just how it happens is what's a total mystery. I think, there are ways, ship Dougie to Seattle for McCann, and ship Mercer up to Buffalo with a pick for JJ Paterka, or, Alex Tuck.
And then sign Claude Giroux.
Sign Giroux, or sign Marchand. I really liked how he's played in the playoffs. Does Marchand then play third line, or because that's what he's been doing in Florida, and does that move Grits up to the second line? And so there's just a lot of complicated pieces moving. And then on the defensive side, more or less the left side is filled, with Siegs, Luke, and Dylan. The right side, I think it's either Dougie or Nemec, and then Pesci and Kovacevic, and then Casey somewhere in and around there as the 7th guy, unless they pick up someone like they did with Kovacevic off the scrap heap, and he kind of fights for time. Fitz always does bring extra guys in. So there's a lot going on here. So yeah, that's really kind of it. I didn't include Mitch Marner in this. I think he's out of our price range. He's a good player, but he's kind of duplicative to a lot of the guys that we already have. These sort of slate framed, high skill guys. And frankly, I think his playoff performances are kind of concerning.
He's going to Utah.
Yeah, and like Sam Bennett is great in theory. It sounds like, but I think
He's
it's
not
either
coming here either.
yeah, I heard Florida or Toronto today from someone who sounded like they know they were talking about. My concern, would be like Brock Besser. I think he just doesn't bring enough to the table for the contract he's going to get. I really like Connor Brown on Edmonton, even though he's a ginger. Daniel Sprong, like, is he going to get a PTO? I think that would be the best kind of possible option for him. And then all the kind of big name RFAs that are made up, Geeky in Boston, they should resign him. McTavish in Anaheim, they should resign him. Velarde in Winnipeg, they should resign him.
But we could offer sheet Geeky and like Rossi if we wanted to. Like they're offer sheetable.
We can offer sheet them or trade for their RFA rights. If like, for example,
because like
Rossi,
Morgan Geeky would be fucking awesome on this team.
Yeah. I think Morgan Geeky's an absolute stud. He's a monster. He's great in the dot. He just exploded for 33 goals. Boston would be fucking crazy not to re-sign him though. Like that would be an insane move. I don't think Boston, with Pasta, with McAvoy, and with Swayman in place, I don't think they're in a tear it down phase.
I think also when everybody sees, what Washington did, I think teams like the Rangers, teams like Boston, these teams, they're not going to tear it down. They're going to try and retool on the fly and keep their core guys, bring young guys in. And if your core is a core you can win with, you can do that. Or you can, get so far. Eventually, I think you have to tear it down and build it back up.
Yeah. And then there's, like Matthew Nyes is on this list. I don't think he's going anywhere.
He's not.
Toronto would be insane to let him go. So this is, it's kind of the same thing that we looked at trade deadline wise. It's like there's a ton of guys that we think may be available that probably should be available. But if anything actually happens and they actually move, I'd be kind of surprised by. So.
Right. Well, I want to dive into some of those guys, but first, Bob.
Yes, sir.
How was your Metallica shows?
Oh, dude. It was pretty much everything that I really wanted to be. I mean, again, for anybody who hadn't heard the story already, I mean, I started listening to them when I was around 14, right around the time I had a friend or two that, had a Trans Am. We'd just be cruising up and down the strip and listening to Metallica on shuffle. And then when I was 15 years old is when Justice came out. And later that year was my first concert, was Metallica for the Justice Tour. 2 years later, it was Guns N' Roses and Metallica on the Black Tour. And I just haven't gotten back since. Shocked to find out that they played in Providence in '97 while I was there. I don't know how I missed that or why I missed that. And then
call yourself a Metallica fan.
Apparently I'm not. I know. And then, took a couple years off after something like Saint Anger came out. Didn't really get into that. But 2016, their records started getting really good again. And I missed the recent tour when my kid was just a couple years old. So I just made it a point to say I'm going to both. And I'm getting floor. And I'm doing the whole experience, and I didn't care, and they did not disappoint, dude. Like, I was really concerned because I was like, here's this kind of aging metal rocker. Hetfield's 61 years old, and it gets a little more daunting to play heavy metal than some other types of music as you get older. They didn't miss a beat at all. It was just everything that it should be. They just started off with bangers like Creep and Death, and then I knew your two bookends when they closed. They were going to close with Puppets in one show, and they were going to close with like one or Sandman on the other. And that's exactly the two that they close with. So it was really just phenomenal. I mean, honestly, like I said, they haven't missed a beat. The atmosphere and everything was perfect. Friday night was funny because, we drove in Friday night. We Ubered in Friday night, and Derek and I just went. We just had a couple of beers to sit on the lawn for a couple minutes. And there was a lot. There was a lot of room in the parking lots before we kind of went into Xfinity Live, just get dinner and drinks in that regard. We had a great time on the floor. It was chill. People float around a little bit up close, but on the second show, Sunday, got there around the same time. I noticed there was a lot more people in the parking lots, and I decided to drive in for this show. Me and my buddy Bill, and I think when we got to the show that night, the ability for people to get there a little earlier and enjoy the parking lot a little longer really made for some complete assholes on the floor. It was a totally different, like, drunk experience than Friday. So it was a little annoying in that regard, but you get past that. I mean, that's the only thing that kind of disturbed the show. Nothing Metallica did. It was just what these people did. But yeah, I mean, I just absolutely stoked. I'm getting ready to order the show that I just went to that'll come out in
Nice.
July. So pure nostalgia for me, and they really rock it. But I gotta offer this up too, man. Pantera. Holy
Oh, they opened?
shit. They opened the second day. The first day, yeah, was Iceland Kills and Limp Bizkit. We went in time to see Limp Bizkit.
Ew.
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh God.
And then the second day was Suicidal
Dismount
Tendencies.
this.
We missed them, but we went in specifically for Pantera, and it was
Who
incredible.
was with Pantera? Who was opening up with Pantera?
Suicidal Tendencies.
You didn't go in for Suicidal Tendencies?
I did not. I could not make it, but we were just doing stuff, hanging out with a couple people. I didn't get in for that. That's a long day to be on your feet at all these concerts. But yeah, I'm listening to Pantera, and if anybody here has like, XM, and you're listening to, Octane or whatever, you're going to hear Pantera 4 or 5 times a day, the same couple of songs. You're going to hear like Cemetery Gate, and you're going to hear Walk, to the point where I'm always driving. I'm like, all right, come on, can we just play something else other than Walk? Like, just give me another Pantera song. And then as they're closing out their set, I realized they hadn't played Walk yet. So sure enough, that's going to be their closer. Totally killed, man. Totally killed. Like, it's so different live. I mean, it was a great song to begin with. I just hear it every single day that I'm in my car, but then live, it just beats right through your heart. So all in all, just terrific experience. Definitely the right choice.
I've actually interviewed Phil probably 4 times, man.
Really?
All those zines and stuff. Yeah, he was, and Dimebag, and it's for He Was Murdered and stuff. So yeah,
I would have definitely loved to have seen Suicidal Tendencies, though. That would have been awesome. That would have been.
I saw them a couple years ago in Florida with it was like I think it was Slayer, Exodus, and Suicidal. If I'm correct on that, Bill.
Nice. I
mean,
it.
I was walking in the building hearing some of it, but no, I did not make it down in time for that. And
that sounds like
funny,
a blast.
There's no sitting down from like the jump, and Friday night was literally no problem.
It was at Link. Is that the Link?
Yeah, it was at the Link, right? So it was a lot of people. So Friday night was no problem. Friday night was my heavy night, though. Like Saturday was a recovery day for sure, and then Sunday, halfway through the concert, I was like, the legs hurt a little bit more than they did the first night. 2 consecutive days of 8 hours on your feet. Even in the establishments, like there's nowhere to sit down. We sat down for like 20 minutes to have a burger. So you're literally on your feet from like 3 to 11. So
you're the guy screaming down in front at a Metallica concert.
Right.
Hell no, dude. I was
down in front.
Have any earplugs?
No.
Turn it down.
The island was. I will tell you guys this: we're old, and we grew up, in Seaside. It is not the Seaside that we grew up in anymore.
No, a lot of problems right now.
Huge problems. I mean,
What's
the
going
amount
on?
of people,
I was going to ask you guys about that. What the hell's going on?
stabbings, fucking, just like flash mob fights constantly. Like it's a mess down there. Like it's just not at all what it was when we were even like. I started not when my kids were little. All right, so my daughter will be 19, my son will be 17. So about 15 years ago, anywhere from like 10 to 15 years ago. When they were little and they'd want to go to the boardwalk and stuff, I would go to take them to Seaside, but I'd be out by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like if we got there at like 1, we'll do a few hours on the rides, whatever, and then out. If they wanted to go at night or whatever, we go to Point. We don't go to Point Pleasant. We're not going to go to Seaside. Like even back then, it was starting at night to change, but
Point Pleasant was more family.
Yeah, but the amount of shit that they went through on the island this weekend, man, this is not the fucking town that we all grew up in.
Yeah, it's really weird because when we grew up, like our early years, it was a very kind of tame surfer town. Like it really was. It kind of became that later night scene, or it changed at least.
Well, you always had the bars on the boardwalk, which were more like the daytime. Like that's where we hung out, right? Like when we went out, and all the clubs were up on the boulevard. So like the clubs would always be packed from like 10 o'clock at night until 3 in the morning. And there'd be problems at 3 in the morning when the clubs were letting out. But for the most part, it was like those were the clubbers. We had
separate worlds. Yeah.
And now it's like they don't even have many bars on the boardwalk anymore. They have like a few of the clubs still, but it's just every asshole and their fucking mother comes down.
It's a real shame because if you go to beach towns and you have these restaurants where there's just, you got some seats on the boards, you're having a couple beers, it's beautiful weather. Like everywhere else you go, that's what you crave, kind of that scene and the salt air and shit. And they're really ruining everything.
So has it been going on for like, is this because I heard about it. My dad was sending me stuff, my mom about it from, obviously Seaside news articles and stuff. So has this been going on for a while? I mean, I know there's always been like a little, even when we were growing up, but it was nothing like people weren't getting stabbed all the time. It was like a fight maybe, right? A
This is the
brawl
worst
outside the bar.
weekend I could remember.
Okay, so this is not like this hasn't been going on for like a year.
I mean, it's
or
been
2
getting
years.
worse, and I guess this is now the
Progressive.
culmination of years of it getting worse, and now, yeah, this is what we
Wasn't
had.
it prom weekend too?
Might have been. It might have been. Usually prom weekend's like another week or two, though, because I think it's like they finish up usually like the end of May, beginning of June, I think, for prom. I don't know.
So,
I don't
we still
fucking
go a lot. Whenever I come down and see my dad, like my kid wants to go. We do the daytime thing. Like,
Right.
we enjoy it, most of the arcades, and stay away from the stands and stuff because that's ridiculous now, $10 for a dart kind of thing. But even last year, because the weather was tame and then the general crowd wasn't as large, we were actually there for Memorial Day evening as it was getting a little dark. We weren't staying late. We had our kid. But that was the first time I had seen, a quote unquote, innocently enough, this kind of youth flash mob thing. Like they weren't destroying anything, but there was literally hundreds of them running in a gang, just thinking it's completely fun, like through the boardwalk. But it was like literally had to like grab my kid by the arm and like pull him in where we're standing because it was very dangerous. It was very unsettling, even though they think they were just having fun, and that pales in comparison to what Chris is talking about. Like the shit's got far worse than just that kind of mentality. But
what's going on around there?
Well, I don't know. It starts with parenting, I guess.
Are the drones still there too? Are they gone? I haven't heard anything about a drone.
No, they're still around. Me and my son were driving home last night, and we saw 2 of them over the bay. So
I didn't hear shit in a while.
So Tim, when you come down, we're going to take you to Seaside.
I'm going to leave you.
Trying to get me stabbed.
Did you freeze again? You froze again.
For fuck's sake.
And he's gone. All right, let's talk shit about Tim. All right, so I do want to actually, because we should probably talk some hockey.
I've been so out of the loop, guys, with hockey ever since like the Devil. I mean, I watched some of the Florida stuff this morning, but I have to admit, man, I've been so disconnected.
You're a better person than I am.
So the UFAs that Tim had written about, and anybody that needs to find this, you can go to it's posted up on our X, it's on our Blue Sky, it's also on unclepuckers.com. And Tim's personal, Tim Wood, on X and on Blue Sky. So please check it out, like it, love it. So you have some UFAs, and you start with Sam Bennett, and I think we can all kind of agree the contract projection was like 6 by 6.4. Which I think is a fine price for Sam Bennett, but I think we all kind of agree that I don't know. I just feel like he's not going to want to come to Jersey.
Why would you leave such a good thing?
Yeah,
right. Why would you leave such a good thing? Like if Florida says we can pay you $5, I think he'd probably stay there.
Yeah,
and it's he's not good defensively. He's actually surprisingly pretty bad in the dot. He's certainly a menace. Has the right attitude. I think we kind of need to add a little bit more of menace.
Oh, my bad.
Manass.
The Phantom Manass.
I thought we already got past your favorite scenes in movies.
We could do that. The greatest dicks in 80s movies.
Bobby, go first.
I got a whole list of those.
I think in All the Right Moves.
Oh
God, Leah Thompson, All the Right Moves. We could have had her in that one. And if
Risky
you slow
Business
mo,
too.
That's not the part what's the part that you like, Chris?
The part where you can slow motion and see Tom Cruise's penis.
A little glimpse you get of
a little glimpse of his ding dong. Then you have Nikolai Ehlers. So Ehlers' projection is 6 by 8.1. But you mentioned something in here about Ehlers. I think this is the one that he doesn't get a ton of ice time.
Yeah, it's weird. Most guys of his caliber would be getting upwards of 18, maybe to close to 20 minutes of ice time, depending on the game. But usually their average time on ice is around 17 and a half minutes, maybe 18 minutes. He only gets 15-30 of ice time, which is really oddly kind of low. And he is a power play 1 guy too. So I don't know what that's all about. Why, a team like Winnipeg would be, I don't want to say limiting his ice time. Maybe they roll 4 lines a little bit more than other teams. I don't know. But to me, that's a bit of a red flag in terms of coachability or maybe his ability to stay in defensive structures. I've also read that, he's probably likely going to resign in Winnipeg as well. But I'd be surprised. I don't know. Maybe he wants an elevated role somewhere. I'm not sure. Maybe he doesn't like Winnipeg.
How do you guys feel about Nikolai Ehlers?
I'm just going to go fall back on what I said last time. I just think he's another similar piece of something we already have. So
no, you're out on
no.
Ehlers.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm out.
You're out, Tone?
I've cooled on Ehlers.
All right. Then we have Brad Marchand, 37 years old, projected 2x5. I would do that. I would do that right now in a heartbeat, 2x5 for Brad Marchand. I don't know if he would ever want to come to New Jersey, but I would definitely be cool with that. How about you guys?
Yeah,
I think that's exactly the type of smaller move that you can do. It's not going to hurt you long term. It's not really going to hurt you short term. Even if he fell off next year, I think you get a really good quality year from just what he brings. I would definitely take him.
Yeah, same. It's not an outrageous length of a contract. I know he's 37, but he hasn't shown a lot of signs of aging. He's gelled really well on a third line in Florida, and again, it's a kind of just that sort of menacey, pesty type of attitude that I think we lack a little bit of. And there's also something to be said for his locker room charisma, so to speak. It kind of feels like a bit of a uniter. Not to make any accusations about locker room culture. None of us are in there. We know what it's like, but he just seems like a guy that could seamlessly kind of fit in and play anywhere.
Tone, Brad Marchand.
Yeah, you hate to play against him, but how could you not? I think he'd be great to have on the team because even to watch him the other night, he was, what was it, a couple nights ago where he scored, did he get 2 goals in that game?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hated him with Boston. I mean, but when I watch him, I think he would be with guys like Jack and stuff. Maybe it's a kind of a player we need on there. You kind of need a douchebag.
Yeah, I like Tim's point too, because the guy is so hated by everybody when he's not on your team. If he still can go into a new locker room and just, be that kind of locker room guy, that really says something for him. I mean, look at Florida. Like, who'd have thought, right? When that all was going down.
I was like, that's a hat on a hat, but no, it's not. He fits perfectly there.
There's a difference between being a dickhead on the ice and being a dickhead in the locker room as a person. And I think that's a distinction that I'd make about JT Miller, is he was a dickhead to everyone off the ice as well. And it seems like Marchand's kind of the complete opposite. Like he's fucking sitting there eating ice cream while getting interviewed.
But he's like one of the premier dickheads if he's not on your team. Yeah. So it's still amazing that he can assimilate right in,
But yet everybody likes him. Everyone throughout the league likes him.
Yeah, like
I used to hate Crosby. I mean, but now some guys just grow on you eventually. You can't see, you realize how annoying they are, but they're good players that you enjoy watching. They're kind of like characters like we had in the 90s and the 2000s growing up.
Young Crosby was way more annoying. So you had every right an older Crosby. He really was.
Yeah, he didn't earn the right yet to whine like he does.
The next guy that you have on the list, I really like, and that's Claude Giroux. And they have, again, 2x5 is his projected salary. I just like Claude Giroux. I like what he brings. He can be a good third line center. I like him. I would be totally fine with him as well. And he does also play that dickhead role. Maybe not as good as Marchand, but if he had some more playoff experience, maybe he would. He
but
really
didn't he not want to come here already?
Is that right? I don't know.
Yeah, didn't we have issue? Didn't he not want to come to Jersey like 2 seasons ago or something?
Oh, if that's the case, then fuck.
Was that from Philly though?
Yeah, from Philly. I think
he might soften on that. I mean, he's 37 now, so I don't know if he's in a position to really be like, no, I don't want to go.
That shit tends to go away if you're the highest bidder. First of all, I've seen it like with the Mets way too often. With career asshole enemies come over. Of course, righteously they do absolutely nothing. But
like what's the guy's name? What's his name? Tony the Soto.
He has a private plane that he flies in alone.
Yeah, I heard that wasn't for him though. That's just for his family. He does fly with the team.
Not true.
Did he get a suite? I think something like that. Anyway, he's hitting.
Sounds like some bitter Yankee fans,
right, dude?
Yeah,
we're not really worried about a guy who's hitting 2.
But in all seriousness, though, when you're talking, that is exactly the type of guy that he was kind of a career Mets basher when he started in Washington and stuff. I was like, I don't ever want this guy anywhere near my team. I still don't. I'm sure he's going to wind up having really good years. Quite
Still
frankly,
don't.
he will. But I really could care less. So you guys can keep ribbing on me, but I don't really care about the Sosa contract. Not my
No,
money.
you know,
Not my problem.
It's indirectly your money.
The next what were you going to say, Tone? Before I go to the next guy,
I think the thing, like Bobby, it's not like the Mets. Like, of course, like the Yankees Mets rival thing, whatever. But it's not just him, but like I had guys with the like Devontae Adams, people who pull this thing. Like, it just makes me. I don't care if I like them or
I'm
not.
with
I
you.
just don't like them eventually. Like, I don't want his family to anything to happen to them, of course. But it's like just. I don't know. I just in sports now, there's no loyalty. You talked about look at Roger Clemens played with the Yankees one day. That was freaking weird, man, when that happened. Like, but this is what
Dude,
happens.
let me
It's
tell
gotten
you.
worse and
I
worse.
mean, that was 25 years ago, but yeah,
It's gotten
I mean,
worse and worse. Now there's zero loyalty, and that's what kind of
Boston and
it's nothing
Yankees are
personal,
trading
man.
with each other. It's like fuck that shit.
Yeah,
Even though they did that for Babe Ruth, but whatever.
Yeah, no. The
it's
next
true.
guy I
It's
really
McElroy.
like too is Matt Duchene.
Yeah.
So they are projecting 3 by 7.2 for Matt Duchene. I like Matt Duchene, another dude that fits and fixes our 3C problem. I would be totally fine with him on the Devils. How about you guys?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, and that's why I listed him. I think there's a whole tier of these mid to late 30s guys, and I feel like kind of the narrative is kind of shifting back to, like these guys. There are a couple of these guys that are kind of okay. Like once it was, a guy turned 34, you put him out to pasture. Now it's kind of like, maybe we
Right.
can hold off on that. Like Duchene just led the Stars in scoring last year. He hasn't really produced all that much in the playoffs, but he definitely has a history of that. He's built like a fucking tank. I like him, but and we can talk about the next guy too. Granlund is also in that boat. It's Giroux, Granlund, it's Duchene. It's just tier of maybe there's probably 6 to 8 30-something centers that I think would fit pretty well in that 3C spot for us.
Yeah, out of those three, I would be fine with Granlund or Duchene or Giroux. I'm fine with any one of them. Anybody out of those three strike you guys more than the other, or you guys would be happy with all of them?
I mean, I'm a little concerned if the 3 years and 7 point whatever is true for Duchene. That's finding a little hard room to fit that in with some of the other problems that we have. He does solve a major problem, but that one in particular seems a little high.
Well, especially if you think that you can solve that problem with Mikael Granlund for 2 by 4.98, for
Exactly.
$5
Right.
million a year,
Right.
or Giroux for $5 million a year, you could save
And
yourself over $2
like
million.
that. I mean, Duchene had 82 points last season. Like, he
That's-
did kind of resurrect his career a little bit in Dallas. Like he was kicked to the curb in Nashville.
Which is why he's the one getting the extra year and the extra couple million, though, right? And then it adds to the package.
Possibly, yeah.
What are you looking at more with on the back end of that? I just think I would take him, of course, but I think somebody in the 2-year range is probably a better option.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Tone?
I'd probably take. I would take Duchene. I think. I don't know about the money thing. I'm so bad with that.
All right, so then we go to some RFAs. Matthew Nyes, we know that's not going to happen. You got JJ Paterka here, and right now he has 2 years left is this because you have 7 by 7.9 and then 2 by 4.6. So is the 2 by 4.6 what's left?
Yeah, so RFAs that haven't no. RFAs.
Okay, they're RFAs. I'm sorry.
There are long-term options and short-term bridge options.
Okay, I got you. Bridge
I
options.
I
and
don't
a
know why
long-term
this
deal.
AFP place has some of the bridge options as 2 years, some as 3 years. So today there's some pretty rampant conversation about Paterka really being a guy that's going to be on the block this summer for Buffalo, and I'd give him a long, hard look.
That you would.
For God's sakes, Chris.
It's never gonna stop, dude.
No, again, I'm not the one bringing up fucking Tom Cruise's fucking dick. So
Does all his own stunts.
He does. Does all his own stunts. Ask Leah Thompson.
him in his third leg.
I watched.
He's got high 20 goal scoring upside. Could be a good wing along, Jack Brad or Nico Timo. Plays a kind of decent hard game. I like him.
I like him too. The next guy is Gabe Velarde, who I like a lot. I think that could be a very interesting one. What do you guys think of Gabe Velarde? He had
Stop making up names. That's what I know about him.
fair enough. We talked about Morgan Geeky. Like, to me, that
There you go again.
if we could offer sheet with one dude on this list, for me, it would be Morgan Geeky.
I like Geeky. Yeah.
I love the name. It's the first
It's
time
a
I'm
great
hearing
name.
it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Great
we
name.
should definitely get him.
Yeah, and it'll be an offer sheet or trading for his rights. You know, if it's like a
Right.
Mercer for his RFA rights or something like that.
I should really know about a guy who had 33 goals.
Yeah, you should.
Well, because Boston, they were
got a
so
kid in
bad.
hockey,
You know,
Bob.
you
You
kind
got
of
an
don't pay
excuse.
attention to that, and you know, but he was, you know, he was actually one of the kind of bright spots for Boston, the emergence of Geeky, and that's why, again, you know, like I said before, like I don't think Boston's going to go tear it down.
And another guy that I really like on this list is Marco Rossi from the Wild. If he's healthy and he can stay healthy, I love Marco Rossi, and I would definitely, like you said, give him some serious consideration if you're going to offer sheet anybody. What do you guys think of Marco Rossi?
Yeah, it's good player. Be a good addition.
I do like him, but I'm pretty interested in Ryan McLeod too.
You know, that's not a bad one, you know, because it's not going to cost you a ton. He's fast as hell. He played very good for Buffalo this year when he moved there from Edmonton. Would he be a 4C though, or would you actually
3C? He's
playing 3C now?
20 goals, 30 like 50 points. That's 3C numbers.
Yeah.
You know, he's fast. He's 6'3", 188. Could fill out a little bit more. He's a good player.
He's only 23.
He's only 23. He's
Yeah.
definitely
That
a
just
guy we should
screams
look at.
fit to me. It really does.
Yeah, and we already have his jerseys.
Right. We could just give him what number was he wearing? 25? Was that what
20.
Michael McLeod was wearing? 25?
20.
You guys didn't see my
20?
joke? Did you guys read my
20.
joke up in the
Jump scare at the name?
No, the other one, the Mick going to jail.
Yes, that was a good one.
Thanks.
You know,
Thanks, guys.
I kind of
Self-promoting.
like that, Bob. I kind of like glossed over the Ryan McLeod thing, but yeah, I think that could work.
Yeah, I like him for kind of the fit, the age group. You know, obviously at 23, you know, it's a great age. You know, we won't need to have this conversation again in 2 years if we pick up a 37-year-old. I really do like him as an option. I think he'd be a great option. And I think with Glass as our 4C, we do have that righty center in place. I think we do need a righty and a lefty centers just for defensive zone draws. And the way Glass is good in the dot. So I think that kind of really fits a need, and it won't break the bank.
Tone?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like 1 or 2 in the morning for you, bro. I could see you starting to fade. All right. Let's just go over some trade options real quick. Quinn Hughes. I mean, that's the one, right? I mean, it's got to be. We got to go after Quinn. I know you said that you're not sure if that's going to happen, if that's like a next year problem. And you know, you're right. It might not be the the right time. I think though that if Rutherford is seriously thinking about moving him, or he decides he wants to come here, I think you got to make it happen this summer.
And just like I want to make sure I'm you know what I'm saying is clear. It's like I think tomorrow is the right time to try and bring Quinn Hughes.
Right.
Like we should but I think we should tread lightly. And as Lou had always said, and this quote came up again today, is like when you have time, you can use it. So I think we have time. You know, let Rutherford stew on this a little bit, but Quinn would be a no-brainer. So ridiculous, total sidebar, but Jack and Quinn were in a Bath and Body Works commercial picking out.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Were they picking up stuff for Luke?
No, that would have been actually funnier. It was like a Father's Day thing.
Yeah.
Oh, Luke, we got your bath bombs.
I watched it. I was like, what did I just watch? My eyes.
All right,
What do you get?
Jared
What do you get
McCann,
your father at Bath and Body Works?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't.
Wasn't Danica doing
go.
skin cream last year?
Yeah, man, and he glowed.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he owned it. He kind of owned the
Yeah.
joke behind that a little
The
bit.
Genicel
Yeah.
skin cream.
Yeah, the dead baby
Yeah,
stem cell.
look, if we get Quinn, obviously that changes the whole kind of
Yeah.
puzzle that Fitz has to put together.
Oh God, it's just. I mean, you're just
Worth
getting
it.
the most dynamic player, one of the most dynamic players in the entire NHL.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
like
that-
I said too, with that, Chris, is that it's such a win-win because the marketing level of that is just huge. You got three
Right.
brothers,
Oh,
forget
yeah.
about it. You know, that's just on the ice and off the ice. It's just a no-brainer. You know,
yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
and of course, being me, I looked into kind of the practical logistics of it. It's like, okay, and I mentioned this before. It's like, okay, what, who's moving off the left side? Because then we'll have 4 lefty and 3 right D, or probably 2.
Right.
He's gone or Nemec is gone. So
But
who plays
again-
over there? Who's the power play 1 quarterback? We're about to give Luke a huge deal, and he's going to be on power play 2, which is going to cut into his production. So is Luke going to be worth the contract that we give him? So there's a lot of kind of little shit that I use to kind of talk myself out of it. But if we have the opportunity to get Quinn, we get Quinn fucking Hughes.
You get him. All right. So there's some other guys on there, but we're getting a little bit late
Yeah.
on the hour here. So we're gonna break it up, and we'll talk more about some other dudes on the next show, because I do want to get to our snake draft of the week, which we told you guys what it was originally, and then we switched it. So the topic now is just horror movies, right? In general.
Yep.
Best horror movies. I will preface this by
Bob,
saying,
who was your number 1 overall pick, by the way, for the original?
yeah, for the
content?
original one.
I'm going back to Phoebe Cates.
There you go.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
definitely
it's-
my number. Who else did
Yeah.
you have?
I didn't even get through the list further until Tim and I had a little side conversation about what's her name from Youngblood. So,
There you go.
I got that going.
Big gives.
Stop baiting me in.
I'm not a huge.
I know you guys.
Well, no, we just
Like,
talked
ooh,
a
Bob's
little
not
bit
coming on for
about
10
it.
minutes. We could do both.
No, we'll do the
kind
horror.
of did.
Yeah, we kind of did already. But we'll
Yeah.
do the horror. I'm not a big horror movie guy, but I do. There are quite a few that I do enjoy. So I have a few on here, but I mean, not like Tony, who I'm sure is going to have movies that I've never even heard of coming up.
no, I kind of
Terrifier, fucking
The
3.
poster-
Terrifier's definitely on there.
The
Yeah.
movie poster that Tony sent was electric.
Tony tried to go a little more mainstream, and we're still not going to know his movies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'll
exactly.
he'll still win the snake draft because of all the fucking weirdos that follow us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He'll definitely win this one. All right. So pick a number 1 through 10. Tony, you go first.
6.
6. Bobby.
1.
1. Tim.
3.
6, 1, 3. I'll go 9. Random number generator is there. And boop. Boop. What is it? 2. So 2. So are we going to do where you're closer without going over?
Yeah, Price is Right rules.
All right. Price is Right rules. So it was Bobby. You were 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Tim.
Yep.
And then
Tim went
Tone.
over. Okay, yeah, I had that backwards in my mind. So okay.
Yeah. Then Tone. And then me. Okay.
Yeah, Bobby's
So-
the big $1 guy on Price is Right.
We start with Bobby. First round, first pick, horror movie. Favorite one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping this doesn't come off as too vanilla as far as the genre goes, but I mean, for me, it goes back to like the first horror movie. It's one of the best to come out. It's all suspense and I believe no blood, if I'm accurate. It is the reason I even started to enjoy the movies, and I probably watch it way too young of an age, and that is the original Halloween.
Can't go wrong with the original Halloween.
Speaking of
Great
trading
movie.
places,
It always comes back to Jamie Lee Curtis, right?
always.
Okay, there's number 3. Go through.
We're gonna
The
get it from him
original
yet. So, Bob, when you have your melons,
If there was a fourth,
Tim, your
All right.
first movie.
Like you, I'm not a massive horror slasher film type of guy, so I'm kind of leaning more into some other types of things. But there's one series of movies that I just can't fucking resist, and we'll watch them every now and then.
What is it?
Ghostbusters.
Final
Sorry.
Destination 3.
Oh, 3. Did you go see
3.
the Bloodlines yet?
No, not yet. The roller coaster Final Destination.
I was going to ask
Okay,
what's the key one of that. Okay.
I have to say that I've never seen any of those movies, and I've always wanted to, but I've never seen them.
Well, every time you see one, then you're like, okay, now I can't drive on the highway. Now I can't go on a roller coaster or, turn on my garbage disposal. It's like, son of a bitch.
Because of
even know
Final
if that lasts
Destination
this long,
2,
I'm
if I
just saying.
ever see a logging truck on the road, I will not go anywhere near it.
Not if you want to keep your head.
No,
that.
I guess you've seen them all,
cop's head
Bobby?
just exploded.
I seen them. I mean, they're not too memorable to me. I would put them all into one big movie. But the fact that Tim was able to slice it up to the one he actually likes, that's good.
I did look them up to make sure that I was like, I'm pretty sure I like the roller coaster one the best.
Yeah.
So
Final Destination 3. Got it. Tony, your first pick.
It's funny, Tim, because I've never not been in a car with somebody when you see a log truck that mentions that movie. And I don't like it. Actually, I'm not a fan of any of those ones, but yeah, every time I've seen a log truck, someone's like, man, Final Destination. And then you always change lanes. It's like the
you move.
That's where that log will bounce to, Tone.
Yeah, you know where it's going. Listening to Slayer die. I'm gonna go with a movie that doesn't have much blood, but still, like, since I was a little kid and I had to see it when I heard of this movie because I heard it was a true story, which kind of it's not so true. It's based on Ed Gein and everything, but the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know.
Already started writing
to this day,
Nice,
day, we actually have a portrait of it hanging in our living room above the table. But to this day, that's still one of the movies that even when I watch it now, the sounds, just the grit of it, it's very dirty feeling. The chicken bones hanging and the sounds and stuff. It's just, I don't know. At this age, I could still watch it and enjoy it and watch the whole thing through and always be like, man, that's such a killer movie. And there's not much blood in it. Like I said, there's only a little bit. It's just when he comes out of that back room with that fucking hammer and boom, whacks him on the back of the head. Chris, you've seen this?
I've seen it.
When he comes out there with that thing and slugs that dude and drags him back. I mean, that's when you're a kid, you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Great one.
That is a good one. My first one, you can probably see where I'm going to go with my horror movies that I like, but my first one is Evil Dead 2. That is, I absolutely love the Evil Dead movies. I love Sam Raimi, and he's got another movie that's on my list if no one else takes it. But yeah, so mine first one's Evil Dead 2. Oh, and I get to pick again. So you said we can do anything, right? Like horror genre, but even comedy related and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead. I absolutely love this movie.
Nice.
I find it fucking hysterical, and yet it's a crazy brain-eating zombie movie. So
I forgot about that one. It is good.
Did you have Shaun of the Dead, Tim?
I'm not going to reveal my movies. Just
what?
Yet. I'm not going to reveal.
Well, you
my
can't pick
movies.
it.
I was just asking you.
I
If
cannot
you
pick
had
it, but there are associated films.
Okay, my bad.
In the coordinate.
All right. Okay.
Trilogy.
Right. Tony, your second film.
Evil Dead 1.
Ooh, okay. The original.
Yeah, it's great.
Chris,
I mean, the
you
makeup
were-
in that.
Yeah, Chris, you gotta go twice, right? Did you?
Chris did
Chris,
I went
Chris,
twice. I took Evil
Chris,
Dead 2 and
Oh, that's
Shaun
right.
of the
Shaun
Dead.
of the Dead.
And then
Yeah,
Tony
I
took
mean-
Evil Dead the original, and Tim's going to take what the hell is the Army of Darkness? I'm sure. So
No.
So that's a good one. I mean, Evil Dead the original is fantastic, and
movie to
2 is
make
kind
up
of a remake of the first one. They just kind of changed it up a little bit, had a little bit more of a budget to it, but they're both great.
All right,
Tim?
I'm going with I had a whole list, and I just thought of one that I just felt like I should pivot to. The killer is not a human. And it's Jaws.
Nice. Definitely
It's
a horror
good one,
movie.
dude.
Anyone asking?
That's a good one.
Yep.
Bob,
Okay. Am I snaking here? Am I going?
Yeah.
you're going twice.
Okay. So this one here is a little more obscure, but anyone I know that has watched it absolutely loves it. And again, for a lot of these movies, for us, like I'm not a big horror guy, like most of you guys either. So most of the horror movies I watch were actually in my youth. Like I
Same here.
don't rent them now. I'll occasionally see some of them that are newish, but it's more about how young I was. Definitely watching inappropriate type movies for my age. But this one's a little bit more out there, but it scared the piss out of me as a kid, and that is American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, you used to love that movie.
So I mean, the makeup now is almost laughable, but at the time when you see this guy in his different stages of decay, as a 10-year-old or whatever I was, that just stuck with you, man. So
It's a
I'll go with that one.
classic.
Yeah,
And that
it is.
movie, well, that actually, until I saw it, it freaked me out because there was, if you guys remember, there was the making of Thriller that was
Mhm.
on. It was either Showtime or HBO because John
Sure.
Landis did the makeup for those movies, and he did the zombies and the thriller video. But he was showing scenes from American Werewolf in London, and when remember the person flies through the window onto the ground, the werewolf comes out. Well, I had never seen the movie, but I just remember being so young and seeing that and just being like, man, that must be the scariest movie around. Just because that if all you saw was the body flying out and the fucking werewolf coming eating it, dude, that never left my mind. Then when I saw the movie, it was kind of funny. It had kind of had a sense of humor to it. That movie,
It was a little campiness to it.
tongue in cheek,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah,
It's a
I had
good
a
one,
hard
Bob.
time deciding if it deserves to be kind of up that far, but it just sticks with me. It was in my
Good
gut.
movie.
Yeah,
It's one of the ones that
good pick.
popped up. This next one will show that typically with these franchises too, I tend to really kind of like the first installment for the most part. Not all the time, but this is definitely one of them. This is another one that came out when I was 10. So however long it took back then to basically get to HBO, which isn't as quick as it is now, but I would guess by the time I was 11, I would be watching this one alone in my room, which was never a good idea.
Fast
The
Times
very
at Ridgemont High.
first
Again?
Showgirls. The first
I will
Nightmare on Elm
classify
Street.
that as a horror movie,
I
Bob.
think we got all three,
absolutely
right?
would give you that as a horror movie.
Yeah, the first Nightmare on Elm Street gave me
No.
just nightmares forever, man. It was so freaky that young. My parents need to do a better job. I should not have been watching that.
Johnny Depp's debut, right?
Yeah, it
The
was
funny
Depp's
is we
debut,
could
and-
actually release both of our snake drafts, the original idea and this one. We've got it out of everybody.
Well, if I win again, I know mine's going to be banned again for the next week when it's run by the committee. The wife's committee goes, nah.
greatest
Oh,
anal
man.
scene. No, Tony.
Oh, that's fine.
So Nightmare on Elm Street still fucking holds up. It is still a great movie, even though it was made 40-something years ago.
Well,
It
there's
is
so
still a
I mean,
fucking
the
great
thing
movie.
is, it's like, okay, now you die in your dreams and you're dead. It's like you just open up a whole new way. Now I can't even go to sleep, dude. Yeah,
Right.
that's really messed up. Yeah.
When you're a kid, when you find that out, like what that's about, I remember being really little, be like, what? He comes and kills you in your sleep. That's some scary shit.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of like, wow, there's a movie on here. I'm actually surprised nobody's taken yet. Let's see if we get to it. Tim, you're up. Your final pick, sir.
You know what? I'm not going to go with one of the two British movies. I was thinking about it, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go with Scream.
The original?
Yes.
Great movie.
Just subverted the genre. Two killers. Great job. Drew Barrymore murdered in the
Gets
beginning.
whacked right away. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
I mean,
they
that
tricked
was a great
everybody
movie.
they tricked everybody with the marketing. Great movie.
We saw that in the movie theater. Bobby, we were with us. Yeah, we all went to see that in the movies.
Stop.
You
Is
don't
that-
remember?
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Yeah. All right,
Did I enjoy
Tony,
it?
I think so. Your final pick, Tone.
Man, I always preach about this movie on this show for the last 3 years. I had the main actor on, who played Art the Clown, David Howard Thornton, and if even if you're not a horror fan, I'm going to go with Terrifier. I'm going to go with Terrifier 1, though I will say this: Terrifier, there's 3 of them out. They're all awesome. Usually these movies lose steam after the first or second. After the second one, it starts getting lame. They keep on getting better and better. The main actress in this, they kind of have their Jamie Lee Curtis, Lauren Rivera, who's awesome. It's a brutal. I mean, the killings are it's so brutal that you can't even. It's like what the heck? It's like funny almost, But it's great storyline, just a killer movie. And like I said, even if you don't like horror, there's no way you can't. Especially as they go on. The first one's kind of like low budget, but it's killer. It's shot in Jersey actually. Over
Oh,
in Newark.
nice.
But 2 and 3, it's much more of a plot going on, and it's just even if you don't like those kind of movies, you'll be like, damn, that was done well, man. That is a fucked up movie.
I'm surprised because I'm not going to pick it on my last one, but I'm actually surprised The Exorcist didn't make it on this list.
It's on my list. There's a lot we're not going to get.
We
We're only
could- we
doing
could go
12.
Yeah,
on
you got the whole Linda Blair tattoo. So for my third one, I'm going back to another Sam Raimi movie. I love Sam Raimi. I think he's an amazing director, and not a lot of people like this movie, but I thought it was fucking great, and that's Drag Me to Hell. So that's my third one.
I haven't even
Tone,
think
did
about
you see
that.
Drag Me to Hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you like it?
Yeah, I actually with Sam Raimi, I don't hate Sam Raimi, but I actually horror wise, I thought Evil Dead was by mistake. He made that movie so good. Like I just thought that was like,
Well, he always does it like a little campy kind of,
Yeah.
doesn't take itself so seriously kind of horror, and that's what I like about him.
I like that. And you think about it,
Great.
Bruce Campbell was the perfect hero. Like
Oh,
he was a hero in a horror movie, and he,
yeah.
it was just great. Like even Army of Darkness, which gets kind of silly, like really silly in some of those parts. Still a good movie, and I just that franchise, just I don't know. To me, I don't out of all three. If you go to Army of Darkness Part 2, Part 1, they're all good in my opinion.
Well, did you watch Ash vs. Evil Dead?
Yeah, I like that too. I'm
That's a
surprised they
fantastic
canceled it.
show.
Yeah, I thought that was
Yeah.
good too.
Yeah.
So we should just
okay.
real quick, everybody just do the next two on their list without like a big explanation if you have them.
I didn't have anything. I just took
You
those
used them all?
three. Yeah, I
Oh,
only
wow.
took those three.
I
Old.
want to mention one as a kid that you guys may remember because and it's not scary at all, but looking back now, Something
do have
Wicked
one.
This Way Comes from Ray
Oh,
Bradbury.
yeah.
Jonathan
Oh,
Pryce
enjoyed
as the
that a lot.
fucking devil on the carnival with the wheel.
yep. I have
Because I was
have
so young. The whole death thing was like a concept of that. You're going to die. That was the whole, it was really, that movie was kind of freaky back then. I think Disney put it out.
really.
Yeah.
There was a movie. Me and my buddy, when we were kids, rented it, and we could not make it through. It was so fucking disturbing, and that was I Spit on Your Grave, the one that
Oh,
was
yeah.
made in the 70s.
Mm.
Last
What?
House on the Left too.
Oh my
Didn't see
god,
that
dude.
one.
What a fucking absolutely horrible like premise. I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically about this young woman who rents out this house in the woods to like work or whatever. She's writing a book or whatever. And there's of course these fucking hillbilly rednecks in the area and they gang rape her. And then she goes on this killing spree of killing all of the men that raped her,
Yeah.
which, hey, good for her. But the way she fucking does it, and it's fucking brutal.
It makes
It
you
is
feel
a
dirty after. Last House on
yes.
the Left was like that too. Here's something for you guys. Do you remember? It's not even a horror movie, but the first movie that I remember besides Old Yeller that I wanted to kill my mom from letting me watch when they shoot the dog. There was a movie, and I remember being really young, and it was on TV one night, and it was Ricky. Who was Ricky Schroeder? That was his name, right?
The
Blonde.
Champ?
Blonde guy.
Did you cry during The Champ?
No, when he goes,
Oh.
when he goes on the car, so he's with his parents, right, in a camper, and his parents fall off this hill and die, and some old guy takes care of him and teaches how to live in the wild. Dude, this movie was like that's when I first learned that your
What was
parents
it
are gonna be gone
called?
one day. Cannot remember the damn name of it, but
Sad name.
man. Yeah,
Did
no,
you
but
guys
it was a movie. You guys, I'm sure you've seen it.
I got that.
Like
thought.
a camper falls
Thanks,
off
Tim.
the hill, kills his parents, and this old guy teaches him how to survive in the wilderness. And
remember
it was
that.
like pretty intense movie.
I just want to take Tony's circle and like move it over his face.
I know,
He's just
he's
seeing
always
like
out
half
of-
his
he's
cheek.
always
I have
out of
the way
range.
my desk is set up, the microphone has to sit here without making.
I
noise.
know.
Did you guys see oh shoot, I just had it in my head and now I can't remember what the fuck. Oh, Hereditary? Did you guys see that?
Yes. Yes.
Not sure.
That scene with the girl when she's driving when they're driving. It's a crazy movie, but there's a scene in it where the brother is at a party and he brings his young, I think she's Down syndrome or whatever, sister with him, and the sister gets like a eats
The
something that
Earthling,
she's
is that the
allergic
movie
to.
you're talking about?
What's one?
Tony? The Earthling?
That's what I was looking for. Yes.
That's what it's called.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Tim. That's what I was just looking for. What Chris was saying.
So he's got
IMDb
this-
is a handy resource.
Yes, it is. He's got his little sister in the car, right? And she's having like an anaphylactic shock, and they're driving, and he's like speeding, racing home, and she's turning fucking blue, and he's like, stick your head out the window, get some air. And she sticks her head out the window, and he goes right past this fucking pole that's a little too close and just takes the fucking sister's head right off her shoulders. Like, it's shocking. Like, it's the last thing you expect. And the whole movie kind of goes from there. That's a crazy movie, but that could have been on my list. So Hereditary.
That's
There's
like
a movie called The Serbian Film, which is like the worst thing. It's like if you got Bobby, have you heard of the Serbian film?
I have not.
I put it like my buddy gave a copy of it to me, and I was actually pissed at him for letting me watch it. It's like, yeah, it is that. I mean, it is unbelievably just wrong. Like Chris, you mentioned when you watched the Drag Me to Hell, you leave this movie feeling disgusting afterwards. And it
Yeah.
had that kind of vibe. It was awful. I'll tell you, that's a movie I recommend guys never to watch.
So what else was on your list, Bob?
Just a lot of the classics, man. I mean, like I had Poltergeist and Amityville up there, The Shining,
Poltergeist
stuff
would have
like
been
that. You know, the Friday the 13th franchise, but specifically Part 2. I just thought that was more menacing because Part 4, you're saying? Because
Part 4.
Part 2, you knew who the killer was. That bag, that menacing bag was, we didn't get the hockey mask till 3.
Yeah.
Right. It was just that bag. So for whatever reason, just part 2. And then, The Exorcist is in there. And Candyman. Remember Candyman?
Yes.
Tony Todd.
That was pretty freaky. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's dead now.
How about you, Tim? You have anything else on your list?
Yeah, like the Saw movies, Chucky, Pet Cemetery. I had Misery
good
on
ones.
my list. Actually, I had Zombieland on here. I think that movie's pretty entertaining.
Ooh,
Tim had like
that's a
50
great
movies
one.
on his list.
I don't know.
No, there's so many. Like when you
And
really
then-
stop
That's
and think, like, and
hard.
add the
Yeah.
other genres in, like
And then-
Zombieland is fucking great.
Yeah, and then like the Hot Fuzz and World's End are the other 2 movies in that genre.
I mean,
the Shaun of the Dead.
you kind of got to go in with at least 12 on your list because that's how many we're picking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
once I
Yeah.
got there, just added a
Sorry,
few
hey.
more.
Creep
Like,
Show. I mean, Creep Show.
Creep
was
Show was
great.
great.
Sorry for being prepared.
Yeah, right. Tim, we should go start our own podcast called How to Be Prepared and Have Your Friends Like It.
I'm
well,
already
we
an
still
Eagle
got it.
Scout,
We
so I
still
don't
got
need-
through it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to?
No, I got to go
wrap
feed
this
my
thing up?
dogs. They're getting
Go Oilers.
antsy.
You're getting a little antsy. Who you got for tonight? Oilers or Stars?
Stars.
Stars
I'm an
all
oil-
tied up.
I'm an oil man.
You're an oil man. I think the Stars are going to tie it up too. So let's go with that. All right. And we will be back later on this week, and we'll talk a little more hockey, maybe some more horror movies, and whatever else comes to our silly, stupid little heads. Wherever you're listening to us, you guys know what to do. Like a 5-star review, a positive comment. Helps a little podcast that could. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe and alert bells. We really do appreciate it. We are the Uncle Puckers, and we'll see you when we see you.
Fuck off.
Fuck you, Valley Cat.
It's over, Johnny. It's over!
And we're back.